The battle for Speaker of the House has dragged into a third day as Republicans remained deadlocked. We are now in the 11th round of voting, with California Congressman Kevin McCarthy appearing to suffer yet another defeat. McCarthy had earlier believed progress was being made in his favor, but that has yet to be proven. In earlier voting, two other Republicans were nominated to run against McCarthy. Congress cannot get anything done until a speaker is elected. That means no access to classified briefings, limited help for constituents, and potential pay delays for some Capitol Hill staffers.
Well, democracy in action. This has been fascinating to watch. And joining us now is Raphael Sonenshein, the executive director of the Pat Brown Institute for Public Affairs at Cal State LA. We've been so excited to talk to you, Rafe, about this. Can you put this into some historical perspective for us? Just how unprecedented is this battle that's playing out in the House?
It's not unprecedented to have an argument inside your party about who should be speaker, but that's always in the caucus without the other party around. The last time a speaker went to a second ballot was 100 years ago exactly, in 1923, and it was the Republicans again, but at that time it was the liberal Republicans, the progressive Republicans, who were blocking the speaker until they got what they wanted, and they got what they wanted, and eventually, I believe it was after 9 ballots, but we're in record-setting territory that probably hasn't happened since the 19th century.
This is remarkable to witness. So in your view, how does this actually get resolved? Will McCarthy outlast his opponents in the Freedom Caucus, or will someone else emerge?
Well, here's what I think. First of all, these things tend to get settled very quickly. In other words, you show up in 5 minutes and they've got a unanimous vote among the Republicans, and we won't know what deals there were. Kevin McCarthy has given away almost everything in his what they used to call the larder. Everything you've got to give away, he's given away. The minute that somebody nominates Steve Scalise for this, instead of nominating a bunch of people who aren't going to be speaker, then you know McCarthy's in very big trouble, because Scalise is the #2 Republican in the House, and a lot of people think if McCarthy fails, then Scalise will come in. So I'm watching for that. I haven't seen any votes cast for Scalise yet. I think that would send a very big signal. So look, it could go any way. McCarthy could step down, although both sides seem to be in this for quite a while, or suddenly they make a deal where this block of very, very conservative right-wing members of the House basically run the House, and McCarthy gets to have his dream of having the word speaker after his name and being second in line to the presidency after the vice president.
Wow. Well, Scalise's name has not been brought into the picture, but they keep voting. So why do they keep voting if McCarthy knows he doesn't have the votes to win? I mean, we did 11 rounds now.
Well, you keep going until one side gives in, one side blinks, or you make a deal. That's politics. I think everybody knows what the deal is, that basically you give all the key committee assignments to this very small block of maybe 18 to 20 right-wing Congress members. But then you have to have the other House Republicans, including new ones who come from Biden voting districts in states like New York, who have to run for re-election in 2 years. And they may not like an agreement that apparently is going to allow any single member of the House to call for a vote on whether the speaker should stay in office, which means you've got a hammer over your head every single day. But it'll end in one of those ways. But it's a standoff, and you can't force either side to give in.
No kidding. So, Rafe, even if McCarthy does finally win the speakership, what does the outlook look for him? If he gives in to every demand, will he not, or will he become a fairly weak leader of the House?
I think weak is the understatement. I think two speakers, this has been in the Republican Party for a number of years. John Boehner got driven out by a conservative group. Paul Ryan got driven out, and they just gave up. They said, we don't want to operate this way. I think McCarthy is much more determined to have the name speaker after his name, and he's willing to give up a lot more than they were willing to give up. I think most people agree he'd be the weakest speaker of modern times. But the real story is, looking down the road, the reason this conservative bloc is pushing so hard is they're waiting for the fall, when the debt limit and a possible government shutdown becomes a possibility. And they'll have to take on their Republican colleagues in the Senate who are not excited about closing down the government. And even further, in 2024, when the House has to certify what could potentially be the reelection of Joe Biden, they might simply vacate the speakership. and do whatever it takes to prevent that from happening. So Democrats are having a great time now. They're eating popcorn, they're enjoying themselves, looking like the stable party, both in the House and the Senate. But they're thinking down the road, or they better be thinking, of what happens when this group really is able to implement some of their policies later this year.
Wow, this could be tough for everybody involved. Well, Rafe Sonenshein, Executive Director of the Pat Brown Institute of Public Affairs, thanks for joining us today. We look forward to talking to you when this whole thing's resolved.
My pleasure.
All right.